Couple things. One is whenever you're doing Bible study, you've got to use one passage to interpret another, which is why a lot of people go wrong when they try to take one passage of scripture and make a whole thesis out of it. So when Paul says you gotta, if you can't control your passions, then it's better to marry than to burn. What he's suggesting is not that you go make a stupid mistake and go marry somebody else. The fruit of the spirit still applies, which means you ought to be self-controlled, which means you ought to be able to control yourself so that you do not fulfill the deeds of the flesh, which means you need less of you and more of Jesus's power to control you so that you can live the life God's called you to live. Because he didn't give you a spirit of fear, he gave you a spirit of courage so that nothing should be in control of you. Now, what he's suggesting is, hey man, if you're trying to do this and it's really difficult for you in your self-control and you're learning to self-control, but it's still difficult for you, then he says, then, hey man, if somebody comes along the way and they're godly enough and can lead you well and can love you well and support you well, then that's an opportunity for you to go and not just be a martyr thinking I'm just going to serve Jesus all my life. But what he's not saying is that you have no responsibility in controlling your moods, you have no responsibility in controlling your passions. That is not what he's saying at all, and I know you know that. So to put both of them together, your assignment then is to make sure that you are displaying self-control, and while you're doing that, your assignment is to make sure that you are, if there's somebody that's available, you just cannot be desperate. The problem in relationships is your desperation. And if you get married for sex, it's the absolute worst thing you could ever do, because sex is not what drives a marriage. Obviously, it's intimacy with God and with each other, and not the sexual act. The act is relatively short. The intimate experience is what's lasting and never ending.